Hi, this is Sue Saunders from Sue Saunders Photography, and today I'm going to demo how I use Photoshop Fix to edit photos that I've taken on my mobile phone. Photoshop Fix, in my opinion, is one of the very best apps out there to edit photos on your mobile. It's a free app, which is incredible considering what it can do. And if you are no stranger to Photoshop, I think that you will enjoy using it. If you've never used Photoshop before, don't be put off. Download it, have a play with it, and hopefully I can show you a few techniques to make it work for you. So let's open Photoshop Fix. And when you first open Photoshop Fix on your phone, you will be given an index of your current projects. Obviously, when you first download it, you won't have any, so you go to your plus sign over here and it will show you where you can take your images from. You can draw images from, as you can see, anywhere, from Dropbox to Creative Cloud, Facebook, and obviously photos from your phone. I've already pulled down the image that I want to use to demonstrate with today. And this is a photo I took of my daughter cuddling grandma's dog. It's a sweet image, a sweet moment of the two of them, but as you can see, there's a lot going on in the background, and I'm going to show you how we can get rid of all that mess and come up with a different image that looks like this. So this is the finished image after using Photoshop Fix. So I'm going to toggle between the two there, and you can just see the difference. So there were quite a few stages in this image, and I may not get around to altering the whole image in lifetime because you might be sitting there way too long listening to me drone on. But I will just show you and run over the couple of tools that I used and how I use them so that you can try this at home. So anyway, first things first, I'm going to go to healing. And when I go to healing and I open up that function, you're given these options at the bottom: spot, heal, patch, clone, stamp, red eye, and restore. The tool we're really looking at today is, well, the two tools are the healing brush and the clone stamp. I'm going to start off with the clone stamp. The clone stamp basically clones information. So when you first open your image and you touch on the image, you will come up with a circle like this. And depending on how zoomed in you are to the image, depends on how big that circle is. That circle is your origin point. And so wherever you put that, when you then make a mark on your image, then that's where the information will come from. So I think you can see that. I'll just go and undo that. The undo is the little arrows right at the top there. You've got a forward arrow and a back arrow in your top toolbar on the right hand side, and that will undo or redo. Let's just do redo, should show you, or undo, if you make a mistake. You can also, if you've seen down the bottom here, if you go down to the bottom, right down to the bottom, you've got a cross in the left-hand side and a tick in the right-hand side. So this is when you've finished using a particular tool and you need to accept or discard your changes. You use the cross and the tick. However, if you just made one error, so you've say for example, let me show you. Say for example, we've made a few marks here. And they're all great, they're all fine, and then you slip and you make one bad mark. You don't want to discard all of your edit, but you just want to go back one. Then that's when you would use the forward and the backwards arrows. So back to the task in hand. I've started doing it already. I first of all touch on the image where I want to take the pixel information from, and then I'm using short strokes just to literally paint with my finger over the top of, to get rid of the information that I don't want. Now, the reason that I'm using short strokes here is because the origin point that you've got there, that circle there, if you use a long stroke, what happens is that it will take information from exactly where you are, and the information will travel with you. I'll try and show you what I mean. Can you see there? So if I drag my finger and I keep dragging my finger across, we lose. It starts to actually where it takes the information from. That travels with me. Whereas if you just make very short little strokes, then that doesn't happen. So you'll it's a bit tricky to explain actually, but when you actually do this and have a play with it, you will see what I mean. You'll need to make short strokes rather than long strokes if you want to sort of, control the what information you're putting back into your image. Now, hair. We've got the issue with this particular image is that you've got a lot of kind of difficult things to clone around, such as hair. Hair is notoriously difficult to path around and to clone around in Photoshop, as anyone who uses Photoshop will know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick to sort of cloning out the hard areas here, the areas that I know I'm really going to get rid of, and I'm going to give the sort of the actual edge a wide berth for now. So you see I'm leaving that edge, I'm leaving there an edge, and there you go. So I'm going to zoom out just to show you what I've done, and I've done a really rough, quick edit where I've just sort of, quite roughly put in information, and I can toggle between the before and the after there and just show you. The before and the after is really useful. It's just in that top left hand corner when you see the little picture of the icon of the picture there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually tick that. So going down to the bottom right hand corner, I'm going to tap on the tick and accept that edit. Then I'm going to flatten that edit. I will come back to the reason why we do that in a moment. It's very important that we do that. So you hit on that little stack of paper at the top and we flatten it down. Then I'm going to go into the healing brush again and do pretty much exactly the same thing again. This time I'm going to talk you through the brushes that we get to the side here. So when that bar comes up with the brush, you get a hardness and size. Size, I'm pretty happy with it the way it is. But you can see how that will change. It's actually the tip of the brush that will change. So we'll just make that maybe around the 30 mark is usually where I use it. The hardness, however, really does make a difference here. So at the moment I've got it on 0, and what 0 does, I'm going to literally show you by putting my origin in it over here. If I give it, there we go. So if I pop a mark in there that's really obvious and really easy to see, I'm going to show you the difference between a soft brush. So that's the 0. The 0 there, if you move your finger up and down the screen, you'll see that number change all the way up to 100. So that's a percentage. So you've got a 0 to 100% of hard or soft brush. So if I now do make that mark again, you can see, sorry, just make it a bit clearer. You can see the difference between those two marks. That one has a really feathered soft edge and the other one has a really hard edge. Both are really, really useful. For doing different types of jobs when you're cloning. Basically, the hard edge is great if you just want to amass information. You just want to sort of, you could use the hard edge here at the top and just block over, and that'd be no problem. But where a soft edge comes into its own is where we want to go next, which is right down here. Sorry, I just made a bit of a mess of that trying to explain. So let's go down to the hardness and we come right down. I reckon about a 23 is good. And then you'll see that if we use a soft edge here, especially around the hair, we're not getting such a sort of cardboard cutout kind of a feel to it. And you can get in, you can go quite close in. In fact, like this, around the really tricky areas like the eyelashes and the hair. And using a soft edge really sort of helps to ease into that edge without it looking too artificial. So let's keep going with that. There we go. And you can see how that makes the difference. Okay. Now I'll just do the same actually, just down here. Oops. You can see there where it's taken my origin point, it hasn't been taken properly. There we go. Okay, you can see how that might be really, really helpful, because if I'd used a hard edge there, you would have had a really strong sort of cut out kind of look. As it is, it still looks pretty artificial. If you zoom out there, you can still see that something doesn't look right there. So then if we go to our layers, which is in the top left-hand corner here, and I hit on that little stack there, and I change the opacity. You've got a slider at the top there, and you literally change the opacity, and you can see what happens there. Let me just zoom in so you can see that a bit better. Okay, and that brings back the information. So that's just basically changing the opacity as a percentage. And the reason that that's really useful in this kind of edit is, that you can you can make the information, the clone, semi-transparent, and therefore you're going to give a softer edge, and it's going to look more realistic. You won't look so much like a cardboard cutout. So if we sort of zoom out from there, maybe you can just see that. So there you go. So if I go before and after, you can see how that's really, really helped around the hair area to make that more of a natural edit. See, where it hasn't helped is down here, where we really do need quite a bit more of a hard edge. So what I would do now is I tick that and I say thank you, and I will accept that edit, and then I'd start again. However, do not forget in between to flatten the layers. The reason for this is if you don't, any edits that you make after that will also be changed when you use that opacity slider. So whatever other edit you add onto that, when you go to that opacity slider, it will change the opacity of all those edits. So if you do want to sort of use that, the opacity slider as in between layers as a way of sort of softening a cutout, you will need to flatten the image after each time that you've gone into a tool. So if I go back again, for example, now I'd go back to healing, I'd choose the clone stamp again, choose my origin point again, and I'd come in here again. And it's a bit of a labour of love. To get it realistic, to get it looking good, you do have to keep going back over it. There's no doubt about it. I am actually doing it a little bit quick and dirty, so it's not going to be the perfect edit by any means, but hopefully it will just show you what you can do, and then you can have a play with it yourself. And I mean, I think it probably took me a good 15-20 minutes just to edit this one image using these techniques. So I don't want you to have to sit through me waffling on all that time. So I just want to show you just generally how it can work. So there I've gone in again with the clone stamp and done sort of a similar thing as I did before. I would probably accept that edit and flatten it again, and then there we go, flatten. And then what I would do is probably go back over it with a clone. And what you can do, if you wanted to soften that edge again, just even more, is go almost over the. If you go over the image like that, I've not done that particularly well. Let's just show you. If you go over the edge of the information, what you can do is also restore it back. So there's a little rubber, a little razor sort of sign saying restore down there, and that basically does what it means. What it says. It it just brings back the information. Now some people use this. You can just literally sort of blanket clone a whole area and then restore back what you want, depending on which is going to be the most efficient way of doing it. I mean, I sometimes find it really hard. In this case, I'm finding it quite difficult because I can't see what I'm restoring back to. I think that using the mask might help. That's a little mask there so that you can see. I can see what I'm doing a little bit better. But if you see what I mean, you've got things like the little doggy eyelashes here, and you can't really. I find it a bit hard to restore back, so I tend to sort of do it the other way around. But again, use the layers and change the opacity, and I think between the two, you'll get an edge which is, looks much more realistic. Anyway, there we go. That little ear needs to come back, doesn't it? There we go. Okay, so very quick and dirty, but I hope you sort of get the idea of the cloning tool there. The other thing is the spot heal. So if you go into the spot healing brush, and what this can do, it's an amazing airbrushing tool, really, and I'll probably go over it as an airbrushing tool in another demo. But I would use it in this instance to sort of even out the tone of the edit that I've already made. So with with the clone brush, you have an origin point. With the spot heal, it basically takes its own guess at what your origin point is. So it will look at the information around what you've painted, what you know, where you're touching the screen, and it will make an assumption based on that. I'll just do a quick before and after, so you can just see what it's done there. Maybe you can't really see that. It's quite subtle. Let me try showing you in another way so we get in there. It basically will smooth things out. So for example, if you wanted to there was a hair or for my kids it's usually hang on, let me just accept that change and flatten the image, because I think it's because we're using it at 36% opacity. There we go. So the little hair here. So this is really good at getting rid of blemishes. So if you wanted, for example, to get rid of, I don't know, the odd spot, the odd bags under the eyes, you know, sort of, you wanted to clone out the tomato ketchup stain, or you know, whatever it is you want to do, you can do this with hopefully I'm showing you what it does here, is that it does take information from nearby. So you do have to be careful that the information sometimes that it recreates, you can see here, it's just made those two little spots. It can take information that you don't want, so you have to be patient with it, and you have to keep going over and over the same area sometimes to see these two little spots there that I've got, which I don't particularly. There we go, you eventually get rid of them. As I say, you've just got to be a little bit careful with it. That's the before and that's the after. So you can see how this might be useful for, you know, portraits when you're, you know, you want the skin to look, you know, clear, and how it can work. So I'm going to accept those there. Now that's, you know, that area that we've been working on, we've been cloning out in the top right hand corner there, it's looking much more natural. But what I actually did then is I used another of the tools called light. So I went to light and I used lighten, and I made the opacity quite hard actually here. Here we have we have the size and the hardness brush, but we also have opacity brush, which means that we can change the opacity as we go. And you'll see if I paint on here, I'm just going to lighten this whole area out, because this was a window. This was the window light. So, you know, this is the light source anyway in the picture. And one of the ways to make this area look more natural, more realistic, is to sort of lighten it up now. I'll just show you the before and after, and you can see. So you can see what I've done there. I've used again a really soft brush, so that I don't get a hard edge, so that when I get that edge, you can see it sort of was spilled over onto the edge of the little girl on the jog, and that's just soften the edge. But what you could do is then go to restore and bring back any information. So if you thought that the edge was too soft then, and you wanted to bring sort of that back in, then you go back in, for example, on her hair here. There we go. You might want to just bring that bit, make that come back a bit. There you go. So there you've got it, and that then now looks just way more realistic, I think, as an edit. There's before. That's just the clone, and then that's over the top with the lightening. So I'm going to accept that and say yes, thank you very much. And what that's about it really. That's exactly how I went round the image. I also did this area in the top. I cleaned that out. Again, that's a very difficult area with all that hair. I cleaned out this bit down here. I sort of darkened that down to get this final edit. I mean, the only thing that I didn't do is I popped a filter on it in something else. Photoshop Fix is a great app, but it doesn't have filters. I mean, I think there are so many other apps that do have filters. We're not lacking here. In my opinion, for a free app, the use of using the layers and the healing, the cloning and healing abilities alone are enough to make this app an absolute essential in your toolkit when you're editing photos from your mobile phone. So anyway, have a go at it. Have it, have a play with it. See what you think. Let me know how you got on, and whether you found it useful. So that's all for now, but hit subscribe if you want to receive any future demos, tips or tricks on how to edit photographs on your mobile phone. Thanks for listening.